Okie doke. So, let me introduce myself. My name's Chris Williams. I'm the creator and author of Balance University. Balance University is a fitness class targeted at your balance. And there's a lot there than just standing on one foot. And we're going to go through some of the science and the research of what's going on as we age. The good news is, if your balance has gotten worse as you've gotten older, it's not your fault. All right? So that's always my excuse, right? So I started in on this journey about 10 years ago, and we self-published in May of 2018. This is a 10-week program. It takes you from the associate's program all the way through the doctorate. Once you complete the program, we have a program after that known as the graduate's program. So all this is a standard fitness class that you're going to go to. Most of your fitness classes are targeted at building muscle, at losing weight. We're targeting at you staying independent for the rest of your life. All right, and that's our mission statement, to keep you strong, mobile, and independent for the rest of your life. Falls are not a natural part of aging. Don't let anyone tell you that they are, okay? And so about 10 years ago, we started down this road, and I got with a Dr. Khan, Dr. Obrador Khan in Naples. He's a concierge doctor now, and he asked me if I could go see some of his patients that were in home. They had a hard time getting to the gym. Now, I don't think, any of us would argue that exercise is good for you, right, at any age. We all agree on that. And so what was happening is a lot of these guys had a tough time getting out and about and needed someone to come to them. It was convenient. And so, having 4 children, and first question I asked is, will they pay? And he said, of course. And I said, I'll be there, and name the place and time. So the first client I had, I'm going to tell you about, but he was a veteran of World War II. He was on a battleship, and then later he was the commander of a minesweeper. So fascinating story, fascinating people you meet in this job. And so what happened though is Mr. Wolf took a tumble and he fell getting up off the toilet seat. Now there are some things we're going to talk about that aren't so pleasant, but I like to keep it informal, but we'll be formal when we need to be, right? And so what happened is he was getting off the toilet seat, had a tough time, a lot of us struggle with that, and he used the toilet paper roller as a handle, and it broke. And so he fell, fractured his shoulder, fractured his hip, and he was gone in about 16 months. And that sent me down a rabbit hole. And I started to look at some of the statistics at falls, especially in our senior population. And what I found was every 11 seconds, someone is treated in the ER for a fall-related injury. 1 in 4 Americans over the age of 65 fall every year. Now, every 19 minutes, it's actually 18 minutes now. According to the CDC, every 18 minutes someone dies from a fall-related injury. If you look at the costs, right, you want to get people to pay attention to you, start talking money. If you look at the cost of falls, in the state of Florida, out-of-pocket costs average somewhere between $14,000 and $16,000. Now that's physical cost and that's time off from work as well, right? We're healthier, we're living longer, and so a lot of us stay in the workforce longer. Just a side note, 70% of our population has at least one chronic disease. Over 40% of our population has 2. We spend more money on our health care than any other country in the world, but we're the sickest. And we fall the most, all right? But we're going to fix that today, all right? So what I want to know is how well you balance. Most of us don't realize how poor our balance is until we have a fall. We used to do health fairs, and I had all my books and setups and pins, and I'm going to tell you what, when you're at health fairs, if you put 9 pins, 10 pins out on the desk, they're going to take 9 or 10 pins. So you have to learn to ration. So we're doing our health fairs, and nobody's stopping by. People are walking by. We even had a guy come by. He had edema. If you don't know what edema is, it's when your legs swell up. It's usually a circulatory issue or heart issue. And so he comes walking by with a cane. He's got a back brace on. He's bent over. He has kyphosis. Kyphosis is when you start rolling over. And he looks at my table. And this table was pretty good. Let me tell you, I had tablecloth. I had stands. I had rack cards, business cards. And he says to me, I don't need that. And walks right on by. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? So we're leaving, and I was a little disappointed, to say the least. And so my wife says, well, maybe we ought to try something different. You know, what if a little sign or something? So we went to Office Max, and we created a sign that says, can you stand on 1 foot for 15 seconds? Ironically, British Journal of Sports Medicine published a story 2 years ago, a research article where they had taken 30-year-olds all the way to 90-year-olds, one-of-a-kind study. And what they found is if you cannot stand on 1 foot for 10 seconds or longer, your life expectancy is 10 years or less. The good news is we can change that, and we can change that with Balance University. So we go to the next fair. We have this sign out. I don't put anything else on this table. We also made one other change. She got in the front and I got behind the desk. I thought that was a better option. She's a lot better looking than I am. And you had some guys, older guys, come by and, oh, how are you? You know, and I thought, well, hey, you know, we're going to use all the tools in the kit today. Well, about that time, I look across the room and I see a lady, you know, she's got 2 bags full of stuff. She's been there 5 minutes, bags already full, and she's lining up. And I'm thinking, oh Lord, liability. So she starts to shift, and I scoot over there and get to her, give her some verbal cues, get up. Lo and behold, she's shocked she can't stand on 1 foot, not just for 15, but for 5. And so after that demonstration, after this poster, this was the best thing we could have done, because I can't tell you how many people stopped by and realized how poor their balance was. So here's what we're going to do today. Don't feel obligated. You don't have to. But if you will indulge me, I want to have everyone stand. We're going to walk behind our chairs. Again, you don't have to. And we're going to test our single leg balance. Any takers? Yeah, let's do it. You don't have to. And if we have to move our chairs around, move your chairs around. All right. I want you to listen carefully to our verbal cues. All right, can you get behind the chair there? We're going to use the chair to hold on to. Yes, sir. So, I want you to listen to the verbal cues, okay? First thing I want you to do, chest up, chin up. I want you to find a focal point on the wall, all right? Find something to stare at, something not moving. Hands on the chair. I want you to simply shift your weight to your right foot. You're going to bring your left heel into the air, left heel only. All right, so your toes are still on the ground. You're going to get a handle on your balance. All right, now if you can, bring that left foot completely in the air. Now, how stable, unstable do you feel? Do you feel confident? Can you move to 1 or 2 fingers? Be safe, no heroes today. Now, if you can go to 1 or 2 fingers confidently, can you remove your hands altogether? Good. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time. Good. Let's go the other way. What you're going to find is we're all better on one side than another, and there's a reason for that, and I'll give it to you later. Again, nice and tall, find your focal point, shift your weight to your left foot, right heel in the air, toes on the ground, hands on the chair. Get your bearings. If you feel comfortable and confident, bring that right foot up into the air, ever so slightly. Now, if you feel good, you feel confident, you feel under control, you can move to 1 or 2 fingers. Good. Good. We have everybody doing it. Now, if you can, go ahead and let go. But be safe, guys, really. All bets are off if we fall. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job, Jimmy. All right, everybody go ahead and have a seat for me. So, did any of that surprise you? Every class we have a lot of people that are surprised that they cannot balance on 1 foot for 15 seconds. You're in the right place. In fact, that's one of our assessments. Guys, every time we start a class, we go through assessments. Part of that assessment is standing with feet hip width apart. Then we move our feet close together. Then we close our eyes. Now, I'll tell you this. Vision, hearing, extremely important when it comes to balance. I would even put it at 1A. So make sure you get your vision and your hearing checked every year. I even read some research a little while back. Hearing aids reduce falls. when I saw that headline, I thought, how does that work? Because the way the vestibular works, it's all about the inner ear and those semicircular tubules in there that hold that liquid and these famous crystals that we hear about with vertigo, right? So how would ear and hearing aids have any impact? Well, here's the trick. Whenever you have hearing aids that are not in and you should be wearing them, you are using brain power that could be focused on your balance instead of trying to hear somebody. You're distracted, all right? So we'll get back to that. Now, I want to tell you, every time that you have to touch a chair during those assessments, so when we were on 1 foot, if you could not stand on 1 foot for 15 seconds without holding on, you're in the right place. And that's our goal. All right, again, falls are not a natural part of aging. And we'll get to that more. All right. Now, I want to tell you about the bet. We're going to get into some good stuff here. And I want you guys to hang on. I'm going to throw a lot of science at you. We're not going to get into the weeds, but it's all going to make sense in the end when I tie it together. At my house one weekend, we were trying to put together Balance University. I had my parents that were in their 50s. My wife and I can't tell you her age, but my age, I was in my late 30s, and we had our kids. Now, we have kids that were teenagers, and then we had an 8-year-old. Now, I needed physical proof, physical evidence of why balance deteriorates as we age. I have 4 different age groups. Let's put it to the test, all right? So I call my parents in. I asked them, can you stand on a Dynadisc? Now, if you don't know what a Dynadisc is, it's like trying to stand on a balloon on an ice cube, all right? Very unstable. Can you stand on a Dynadisc on 1 foot, go down, touch your toe, and come back up? Of course, my mom, wanting to do what she can to help her son, sure, let me try it. No chance. My dad, Senior Master Sergeant Williams, no. Goes, turns around and walks right back out of the room. wasn't having it. Didn't even try. Now, my wife and I, we give it a shot. 1 leg, gonna go down, touch our toe, and come back up on this Dynadisc. It was tough. We struggled, but execution was so-so, maybe a couple of touches. The teenagers were good. The 8-year-old was a show-off. I kicked him out of the room. He kept doing it over and over again. So here what we saw was proof balance deteriorates as we age. The question is why? What is happening inside our body? Why is this deteriorating? Famously, this became known as a bet in our house. And so over the years, we've had kids come in and try to do this bet. And so I've only given out, if you can do it, I'll give you $5. All right, now I have 3 boys and I have 1 daughter. And so think about all the friends coming through the house. In all the years since we've done this, I've given out $15, and 1 person has gotten 10 of them. He is now banned from the bet. The youngest can no longer do it. So let's get into it. Here's a couple of things we know, all right? We know in Naperville, Indiana, there was a school of 8th graders, middle school. We targeted the 8th graders. Not extraordinarily affluent, not poverty-stricken. Some would call this middle class, okay? They took these 8th graders who were failing, not doing very well. There were talks of even shutting the school down. And so one PE teacher decided that he would take matters into his own hands. So he went to the administration of the school board and he asked them, can I do an experiment? I want to have the kids exercise prior to the school day. Yes, they'll have to get up earlier. Yes, they're going to have to exercise. And at worst case scenario, they'll be in better shape. Cardiovascularly, circulatory, maybe even lose a little weight. Who knows? Ironically, what they found is that the kids who finished first and second were not always the kids that were working the hardest. Usually the kids that were working the hardest that were kids finishing last. And the reason for that is because they weren't apt to running a mile. Who here thinks they can run a mile, right, and smile the whole way around the track? Which brings me to another point. Who thinks running is fun? How many times have you seen somebody smile when they run? Never. It never happens, right? If they do, something's wrong. You can get away from them. All right? No, I'm just kidding. So What they did was they took these kids, had them run a mile, but they strapped a heart rate monitor to them so they could tell if they were reaching their zone 2 cardiac output, zone 3, right? They wanted to make sure that they were reaching a sufficient level of output and effort. At the end of a year, these kids ranked 3rd in the world when they did their standardized testing in math, 1st in science. This model is now being used in our schools all over America, and might I say, not fast enough. All right? Now, there's one little tidbit, okay? Secondly, in 1945, there was a study done by a Dr. Rady and a Dr. Cotty. There's a book written about this called Spark. A lot of the research on Balance University is based off of this research. They found the brain is malleable. Now, how did they discover that? Experiment. They took 2 groups of mice. One group was your placebo. They just put them in a room or put them in their cage, let them go. Let them be to themselves and they do mice things. The other group, they brought in exercise wheels. There was no incentive to exercise. There was no cheese. They just let them get on the treadmill, on the wheel, whenever they wanted. You can imagine the regulations now in testing versus back then are quite different. One of the scientists decided, look at all these mice, I'm gonna bring some of these home and let my kids play with them. He shows up the next day, all of his colleagues are sitting in the room, he walks in with this box of mice his kids have played with, and they think, you've destroyed the study. Good job, way to work, Carl. It's all off now. We didn't account for this variable, right? What they did was they sat in a room and decided, we'll introduce socialization. And that will account for the kids playing with the mice. So you have 2 variables here, exercise and socialization, all right? These are considered novel events. Other novel events, deaths, weddings, breakups, funerals, you guys don't have to think very hard to remember those events, right? That's because there's a chemical in your brain that is available when these occur. Exercise and socialization are also considered novel events. It's called BDNF. I'm not going to give you the full name. We're going to go with the acronym today. BDNF is a constructor. It cements and helps you memorize and keep those memories. All right? Now, this is going to be important, so make sure you make a mental note. BDNF helps me memorize. In 2007, German researchers found that if you exercise prior to a word memorization game, you can memorize up to 20% more words than the group that did not exercise. So there we are. We have proof. When they dissected the mice, okay, and they took their brains and they put it on a scale, the mice who exercised and socialized, their brains were heavier than the mice that were left to do mice things. What they found was the hippocampus grew. The hippocampus is where the learning is done. So, by coming to a Balance University class, not only are you going to exercise, you're going to socialize, right? And if you've ever gone to a group anything, you start to build relationships and friends, right? Well, that's the whole point. So, fast forward, we found in the year 2000, side note, Duke researchers found that exercise was even better than Zoloft. And who doesn't love a good Zoloft in the morning, right? Zoloft is an anti-anxiety, antidepressant medication. Here's the thing. Whenever these researchers asked these folks that participated in this experiment, a group taking Zoloft, a group exercising, actually the group who exercised displayed more confidence and a little bit more joy because they did it themselves, right? All of this is going to come to a conclusion here. Just stay with me, all right? Now, we have 3 factors here that we have to be concerned about when it comes to our balance. We talked about the vestibular system, right? That's going to go first. The second problem area is going to be mechanoreceptors and proprioceptors. The third problem is going to be our leg strength. If we can address these different areas, we're going to effectively improve our balance. What are our vestibular system? Let's talk a little bit about this. We talked about the inner ear and those intertubule canals, those tubules that contain that liquid. Have you guys ever been on a boat or even in a car? You look out at the horizon, your eyes send messages to your brain via a common nerve. Well, those inner ear, those tubules, they have a common nerve that sends input and data to your brain as well. Have you ever been somewhere where you've gotten motion sickness? Boat, car? Here's what happens. You're in a boat, you're 100 miles offshore, you're looking for some fish, and the waves are about 2 to 4 feet. You look out on the horizon, it's flat though. You just see the crest of the waves. However, you're all over the place because the waves are rocking the boat. Your eyes are sending a message to the brain, telling the brain, hey, we're good, enjoy yourself. I don't know why you're getting all nauseous. It's because your ears are sending a signal to your brain going, buddy, I don't know where you're at, but you need to get out of here. We're all over the place. You ever heard of mixed signals? Oh, let me tell you, this is the ultimate mixed signals. You get car sick, you get motion sickness, okay? So, very important, if we were to do an assessment here, you know what, let's do it. If you can, indulge me one more time, let's stand and go behind those chairs. It'll be the last time I ask you to stand. Possibly, maybe. Let me show you how important that vestibular system is, particularly your vision. I want you to keep your feet chair leg width apart, okay? Bend your knees, core tight, pull that belly button in. Don't want to let those bellies hang out. Shoulders back, hands on your chair, close your eyes. Again, holding this position for 15 seconds. Once you get your bearings, eyes closed. If you feel comfortable and confident, you can move to 1 to 2 fingers. If you think that you can let go without swaying like a tree in the wind, go ahead and do so. Be safe. 3, 2, 1, and time. Okay, now let's bring those feet as close together as we can, all right? Eyes open, bringing your feet as close together as you can. Same verbal cues. Knees slightly bent, core tight, chest, chin up, hands on the chair, close your eyes. Holding this position 15 seconds. If you feel comfortable and confident, you're not swaying like a tree in the wind, I want you to go ahead and move to 2 fingers. If you think you can let go, do so. Be safe, guys. I cannot encourage you enough to be safe. 3, 2, 1, and time. Go ahead, have a seat for me. How many of you were surprised at how much you swayed or how disoriented you were, right? That shows you how much your vision is involved in your balance, right? So make sure you get your eyes and your ears checked at least once a year. That's the vestibular system. The doctors are going to take care of that. I'm going to take care of the rest, all right? Second problem, mechanoreceptors, proprioceptors. What are they? What do they do? Mechanoreceptors are at the bottom of our feet. They detect pressure. If I lean too far forward, signals from my mechanoreceptors at the bottom of my feet send signals to my brain, hey, you're approaching the threshold, you better get back. If I go too far back, same system tells me to go forward. Keeps me upright and erect. That's the very definition of balance. Now, if you have neuropathy, those signals can be interrupted. Dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, that does the same thing. We're not going to get off in the weeds on those, but we will have questions at the end. If you want to talk about that, we certainly can, okay? Here's the other thing, proprioceptors. Proprioceptors are found in the nerve endings in your skin, your epidermis, all right? We used to run around as kids all the time. When I found out what epidermis was, yeah, your epidermis is showing. What? No, it's your skin. Oh. Here's the deal with proprioceptors. Have you ever known anyone, or have you ever heard of someone that's had an amputation, but when they wake up, that limb that is amputated is hurting? That's because their brain is still trying to connect to those proprioceptors that are not there. So proprioceptors tell our brain where our limbs and arms are in space and time. Very important information, right? Okay, so now all those systems are playing a role to help us stay upright and erect. Finally, just as important, and I cannot stress this enough, has anyone seen the price of gold lately? My goodness, I'm so glad I bought that gold 4 years ago. It's up there. Your leg strength is as valuable or more, okay? Now, I told you when we started, we were going to talk about some things that may not be so pleasant, but we're going to keep it formal in these instances. Your leg strength is the key to everything. It's the key to your independence. If you cannot stand up from a chair without using your arms, we're going to really focus on that leg strength. When I go into someone's home, one thing I look for, do they meet me at the door? Right? It's not about manners. Just can they get up and walk to the door? Okay, if they don't do that, do they stand up and greet me? And if they don't do that, can they stand up at all? That's the first thing we do. And what I'm looking for is leg strength. You can't even do cardiovascular training if you don't have strong legs. You can't stay on the treadmill, right, for more than a minute or two. Finally, most importantly, the older we get, most of us experience what's called polypharmacy, especially in our society. And yes, this is my soapbox. Only 2 countries in the world allow pharmaceutical commercials on TV. I'll give you a guess. New Zealand, anybody know the other one? Us, right. Here's the deal. When you walk, I don't know if you've noticed, gravity pulls things down. That includes the contents of your stomach. You know where I'm going with this, okay? Constipation is a big issue as we age because we sit more as we age. We're on more medicines as we age. And our diet is usually not as good as we age as it usually would be. We're not getting the calories or the right types of calories. As we walk and move around, our circulatory system is having a chance to get blood all over the place. That's going to act as lubrication, not just to your joints, but to your intestines. Not only that, gravity is getting an opportunity to pull things down and out. Can I stop there? Everybody got it? Know where I'm going with this? Makes it easier to go to the bathroom. All right, good, good, good. So, leg strength is gold. It's the key to everything. Now, any questions there? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you said the diet is not usually as good as we age. Why is that? I'm not sure what you mean by that.
A number of factors. Usually when we age, our taste buds change, so we tend to add more salt and seasoning to the food, so that adds sodium to the diet. A lot of times we forget to eat. It becomes harder to prepare food. I see it. We forget to eat, we forget to drink water. But from the ages 30 to the age 80, we hold about 20% less water, all right? So a lot of us experience cramping. So there's a lot of factors there that go into reducing calories and getting poor calories, which directly impact our muscular strength and energy, all right? Now, let's make this all make sense, okay? Vestibular system we went down, mechanoreceptors, proprioceptors. Let's stop right there for a second. Any football fans? Good. We're going to talk about football. Here's the deal. Brett Favre, Tim Tebow, quarterbacks. How many times do you think they've thrown a football? Thousands, hundreds of thousands. When Brett Favre or Patrick Mahomes goes back to throw a football, do you think he tells in his brain, do you think he goes, okay, he's 17 yards down the field, I need 17% incline with a 97% velocity with 37% strength? Or does he just throw the ball? He just throws a freaking ball. He's done it so many times, his brain has memorized the contractions in the order at the precise time, at the precise strength to execute that pass. What if we applied that practice to your balance when we've socialized and when we've exercised? See where I'm going with this? Okay. Tim Tebow throws a football like a baseball. In fact, he was a really great baseball player prior to going to the University of Florida. Brett Favre throws from the ear. That's how you throw a football. Dan Marino. Tebow has a longer windup. In the NFL, it's a matter of milliseconds in a game of less than inches, truly. Tim Tebow throws the ball incorrectly. In order for him to rewire all of that he's done, that network, he would have to throw the ball correctly as many times as he's thrown the ball incorrectly to change that system. That's why he played baseball. That's why he went to baseball after football, all right? So for us, it matters because now we can memorize thresholds and we can use this science and apply it to our daily lives and help us stay strong, mobile, and independent for the rest of our lives. Proprioception, the proprioceptors. In order to improve your balance, you're going to have to be unstable. That doesn't make sense at all, does it? It's called proprioceptively enriched environments. John knows this one. So, I want you to watch my foot as I try to stand on one foot. You see how my foot's working? What's happening is I'm using my vestibular systems, I'm using my mechanoreceptors and my proprioceptors. They're all sending data to my brain's unpacking it, sending data back, telling my body what contractions I need to use to keep me upright. Okay? So I'm stable, but I'm a little unstable. So we have to find that position for everyone. For some, it may be standing in a split stance. That may be really difficult for some. For others, not so tough. So then we would progress and find that right environment for you to work in, okay? Here's the other thing. I told you in the beginning it's not your fault, right? It's not. As we age, the synapses in our brains start to move further apart. Some move further apart than others. Let me tell you, you should have seen that ride in on 75. Holy moly. Can't tell you. But I have got the best driving coach ever. So we were in good hands, all right? But here's the deal. The brain is malleable. It changes. How do we know that? We know that from the research done by Dr. Rady and Dr. Cotty when they dissected those mice and found that the hippocampus grew and those mice' brain was heavier. Now this research was done between 45 and 1955, right? It's a long time ago. That's how long we've known this. So for us, those of us who are facing mental decline, memory loss, all right, we can use Balance University in this exercise to regain and improve and stop that mental decline and stop that memory loss and improve that memory loss by exercise. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm not going to get off in the weeds too much, but that's what we're going to do. Here's the other thing. How do we get better? We've talked about all the science. What are the exercises we need to do? You guys made a great effort to get here, so I'm going to reward you right here. 4 pillars: strength, posture, flexibility, and balance. Those are the keys. Got to have all 4. The way we do that, guys, leg strength is going first. Leg strength is what? Gold. There you go. Leg strength is gold. It's the key to your independence. So, we're going to do in a class, we'll do 2 exercises in each pillar, with exception, the balance pillar, we do 4. An example of a strengthening exercise. If I can give you any exercise to do, if this is the last time I see you on this planet, the one exercise I would ask you to do to effectively increase your core strength, leg strength, is this right here. It's called a founders. Now, if you'd like to try it, stand. If you had enough, you can stay seated. You're going to take your feet, and you can stay in front of your chairs. You're good. You can stay right there in front of your chairs. You're going to take your feet. You're going to go chair leg width apart. You're going to take your arms, and you're going to go right over your head. Now, pull the bellies in. Remember, belly button, pull it to your spine. All right? Now, what I want you to do is you're going to stick your bottom out, and you're going to squat down. Now, your natural inclination is the arms are going to want to go forward. I want you to push them back, trying to get your biceps by your ears. Stick your bottom out. Your weight should be on your heels. There you go. Hold 3, 2, and 1. Rising up. Again, down. Get as low as you can. Low, 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 low. 3, 2, 1. And you're up. Good. Down. Oh, no. You're in it now. 3, 2, 1. 2 more. Ready? And down. Push back. Push back. 3, 2, 1. All right, here we go. Last one. Down. 99, 98, 2, 1. Rest. How'd that feel? Good. You can do that at home. And I'm going to tell you, my clients that I see one-on-one, when they are going out of town, I tell them to do that exercise. If they don't, I know right away. Okay? Now, go ahead. You can have a seat. All good. That's for our strength. You know what else we can do for our leg strength? How many of us sit in a day? Everyone's hand should be up because you're sitting right now. Sit up nice and tall. Pull your backs away from the chair. I want you to take both legs out in front of you, and I want you to just raise them straight up in front of you. Now, pull your toes back to you. Flex your quadriceps. Flex those leg muscles. Now, let them down to where they were. We'll call that start position, but try not to let them touch the ground. Keep them in the air. Can you go all the way down? Oh, no. I mean, down like this. All the way down. Feet in the air. You're going to go up and down, keeping your feet in the air. There you go, core tight. Now you have to keep your back off the chair. Good, pull the toes back, pause, 1, 2, and then you're down. That's it, you're up, flex, 1, 2, and down. Beautiful. Now how many should you do? I would say with the founders,
8.
Good number, 8, perfect. How'd you know that? Yeah, that's it. 8 for the founders. You can do it multiple times in a day, okay? The more you put into it, the more you get out of it. That's how things go with most stuff in life, right? With the leg extensions, shoot, 10, 20, 30. If I were going to tell you if you were starting out, I would say shoot for 15 and try to do it at least 3 to 5 times a day. Nice and slow. Don't rush the movement. You're in charge of the control. You control the movement. Don't let the movement control you. Okay? That's our leg strength. Next is posture. Why is posture so important to balance? Well, it's the center of mass. Let's do an experiment. As you can tell, I like objective data. I'm all for anecdotal stuff. I'm all for that. I love getting emails. Chris, I put my pants on without holding on today. That's good. We're on a roll. Maybe we can avoid more situations like Mr. Wolf found himself in, right? So, here's our demonstration. Here's a good place. I'm not going to fall on you. I'm all the way back against the chest here, right? Against the table. I'm going to bend over, but the table here is going to prevent me from sticking my bottom out and changing my center of mass. My center of mass against this chest here is fixed, can't move. Ready? I'm going to go down. There's going to come a point where I'm going to fall because I can't change my center of mass. See that? What happens if I can change my center of mass? Ready? What's the first thing my hips do when I go down? They go back. Correct. Because I'm changing my center of mass so I can keep my balance. Now, what if I walk like this? Is that how we were created? Is that how we're supposed to? What do we call that? Poor posture. Up, shoulders back, belly tight, right? But that's really hard these days. And it's harder and harder because everything we do is in front of us. When we drive, our phones, oh my gosh, the phones are the worst, right? We've got kids losing that lordotic curve in their neck because they're looking down so much, right? So what happens is it increases our risk for a fall. Well, how do we improve our posture? Simple, all right? Couple of ways. Again, you can do this seated. Maybe not, we're going to be swinging our arms, so don't poke anybody in the eye. But you'll sit up nice and tall, and you'll take your arms, palms to the sky, push back, core tight. There you go. And then come together. Touch your pinkies. And again, out, core tight. Now, when you do this, don't rush the movement. I want you to stretch your chest and then come together. Pull that belly button in and out. Good. Don't let the shoulders go up. Keep the head back and in. Rest. You feel that chest stretching? So we're undoing all that stuff during the day. Go ahead and relax, guys. Take a break. All that stuff we do during the day, where it tightens those muscles, there's a consequence for that. Muscles in the front are getting tight, muscles in the back are getting weak. And that's a problem when it comes to our posture because now we have no strength to pull our shoulders back. Not only that, do we need to create strength. This posterior delt back here, this muscle back here, this trap, this lat, teres major and minor, you guys know the guys, the culprits. By strengthening, did you feel your muscles working there? Think if we did 12 to 15 of those and we did them 2 or 3 times. Not only are we strengthening, but muscle is heavy. That's why it's hard to build and hard to make. The body doesn't like muscle. It's heavy, requires a lot of calories. But for us, creating muscle on the back here, particularly the shoulder, that weight is going to act as an anchor. Pull those shoulders back, right? How about that? Man. So work on that exercise there. We call that the reverse shoulder swing. Something simple, easy to do. Now, flexibility. How many times have you seen this? That disrupted gait or the shuffling. Okay? A lot of times, it's more than just a flexibility issue. It can be neurological. There could be a lot of things going on, the reason why someone has a disrupted gait. But if our muscles cannot function through the range of motion that they were designed to function through, we're going to have a problem, right? If a muscle can't do its job, another muscle is going to have to step up and do it for that weakened muscle. This is how you get overactive and underactive muscles. This is how we get pain in the kinetic chain here. So, what we can do is stretch. Simple and easy. It's going to help not only keep our center of mass where it was designed to be by the Creator, but it's also going to help make sure that our muscles and our gait pattern is long and healthy. And the way we do that is you can stick your left leg out in front of you. Go ahead, let your heel hit the ground. Take both hands, reach down there as far as you can, slide them down your leg and stretch. You feel that in the back of your leg there? It's really hard to mess this up. And you're going to hold it for 15, 20 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and up. Now do the other side. We'll flip the legs around. All right, and then you'll reach down that leg. Go ahead and stretch. We'll do it for 10 seconds. I'm going to show you something cool here. Hold it. Where are you going? 3, 2, 1. Now come up. You're going to take a brief pause. You're going to do that again, and I bet you can reach a little bit further this time. Ready? And down. Try it. I bet you can. Good. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How about that? So, we should stretch when we're taking a break. Don't think about fitness as setting aside 30 minutes or an hour of your day. I don't want you to think about fitness that way. Diet got trapped in this type of thinking. Diet is not a restriction of calories. That's not the definition. Diet is what we consume on a daily basis. Don't let fitness get trapped in that box. I tell my guys in my classes all the time, I especially like to pick on the men, right? We're easy targets. And I tell them this. I say, guys, when you're cooking for your wives and you're standing there in front of the microwave and you're watching that number tick down, you could be working on your single leg balance, right? You could be stretching. That's how you need to think about this, okay? Let me encourage you while I'm on it. Each and every one of you should be walking every day, okay? I can't tell you how much research come across my email all the time, from British Journal of Sports Medicine to Harvard Medical School to the American Journal of Medicine. Guys, walking does so much good for not only your body, your cardiovascular system, your brain, your leg strength, vitamin D. People who have higher levels of vitamin D fall less. This is why I got in trouble with YouTube. I posted a video because there was research out of France that showed vitamin D reduces inflammation COVID caused. So, guys, get out in the sun. It makes you happy. All right, and it strengthens your legs and it'll keep you strong, mobile, and independent for the rest of your life. Lastly, balance. All right, my uncle gave me some advice years ago. He said, Chris, the brain can only handle what the rear end can take. All right, so balance, we did some of those balance exercises. Let me encourage you, just try standing on one foot for 15 to 20 seconds. All right, in my classes, my students, the last thing we do before class is dismissed, we stand on one foot for 60 seconds, and we do both sides. Even if you have to hold on, think about this. You're in class, we've done all this socialization, we've done all this exercise, and now all the components there that are necessary to help us be balanced, be better balanced, to help us memorize the body positioning we need to be in, right, is at the very end. That's the balance pillar at the very end. We've created the best environment possible for us to improve. And what we're trying to do with that BDNF, remember I told you it was a constructor? Can you become fluent in a foreign language by learning one word a week? No. One word a week. Sorry, not a trick question. You would be very limited. So it would be very hard to get around. Sorry, I wasn't trying to trick you. My point is this. Every time you learn a new word or you learn a salsa step or you learn something new, cells in the brain congregate. And the more you do it, the more cells congregate, and eventually that forms a memory. With BDNF available, we've supercharged that system. So now, remember 2007 research the Germans did with the word memorization game? You remember the school in Naperville, Indiana, who had the 8th graders running before the tests? Now, at the very end, in our balance pillar, right, where we're working in a proprioceptively enriched environment, all those chemicals are available in our brains to help us memorize where those thresholds are. And imagine if we treated balance like a foreign language. And imagine we worked on it every day. There's 10,080 minutes in a day. You just need 1% of that time. That's it. 1%. And if that keeps you strong, mobile, and independent for the rest of your life, it's worth it. All right? So with that, thank you for being here, guys. I know you battled the traffic, battled the wind. Oh my gosh, that wind is blowing like crazy out there. I really appreciate you being here. I'm not sure our deal on the books, how we're going to work that. I have books available. All right, and what that is the 10-week program takes you through, has pictures. I have videos on the website of every exercise in this book. The website, mybalanceuniversity.com, it's a resource for you. Use it, okay? Scroll down, you'll see the YouTube channel and the Rumble channel, all right? Those guys, you can go to those channels, just quick click. I made it easy as possible. On those channels, we have playlists of classes, of lectures like this, talking about specific issues. I just did a lecture for the Parkinson's Association of Southwest Florida. So whatever you have, a knee replacement, COPD, we've covered it. All right, that's available there at the Rumble and YouTube channel. We also have a fall prevention homework series. There's 15 episodes where I give you 2 exercises in 2 minutes. All right, so with that being said, you guys, any questions?
That's for every day.
Every day. You got it. The kids say day. All right. Thank you guys. Y'all have a great day. All right. Remember your homework and make somebody smile, okay? All right. Adios. Thank you. All right. Good. Good. Thank you.